Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jatapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitangscha Om Ajnana Timrandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Adadana Sridam Dantaya Idam Jache Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padamboja Dulisham Janma Janmani Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Himabhadivyascha Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Namo Gaura Kishoraya Bhaktavaduta Murtiye Gaurangri Padma Bringaya Radha Bhavani Shevane. Yesterday was the Uttan Ekadashi and the disappearance day of Srila Gaura Kishor, Paramahansa Thakur, Srila Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj. And Guru Maharaj's poetry to him, he describes that there's other, Uttan means rising, and there's a whole other subject about the departed on that day, and Guru Maharaj he knows the details of that. But in his poem to Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj, he says, having completed your Urja Brat, this is Urja Mas, Kartik Mas, the month of Radharani, Damodar, and he said, and with the awakening of Damodar, then you've entered that realm as one of the Sakis of Srimati Radharani. That's the way he described it there. And, Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj, it's the Gurudev of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And as we heard recently, that the juxtaposition of Lokanath Goswami vows to take no disciples, but meets the star of our line, Narottam Thakur, and his heart is melted by the pure, loving, affectionate seva of Narottam. So he accepts him as his disciple. So he has one, Narottam has 100,000. Similarly, Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj and Srila Saraswati Thakur. And here, the juxtaposition also is that Saraswati Thakur's renowned, he is the greatest philosopher of the last 200 years or more, but just to give some context. So that the great Siddhanta Saraswati, he will approach Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj as his guru is puzzling from one point of view. Because Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj is not known for scholarship and such things. So when Saraswati Thakur makes his approach at the insistence of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Guru Maharaj would sometimes say, because Babaji Maharaj took Babaji Vesh from Bhagwat Das Babaji, who's connected with Jagannath Das Babaji. He said, but because Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj liked to hear Bhagwat Katha from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Guru Maharaj said, he can be considered like his Bhagwat Guru. So there's this natural connection, love and affection, mutual appreciation. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, perhaps one aspect of his sending Saraswati Thakur there is to discount the idea of Jata Goshai, like, what do you call it? Family line, like from father to son, etc. Because the Jata Gosai identified as one of the Sahajiya Sampradayas. So Saraswati Thakur approaches Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj, and Babaji Maharaj says to him that I will have to ask Mahaprabhu for permission. So come in a fortnight. He returns in 2 weeks. Said, Babaji Maharaj, and you asked Mahaprabhu? He goes, I forgot to ask. And Guru Maharaj said, he heard from Saraswati Thakur about this, that he wants to, it's like a test to see this great scholar is approaching this practically illiterate person in one sense. Right? Because so many want Saraswati Thakur to be their disciple. They're very eager. That will add to their prestige. So Babaji Maharaj, check, is there some scholarly ego there? If I, like, this is not significant to me. Oh, I forgot to ask Mahaprabhu. How will he respond to that? And of course, Srila Saraswati Thakur is undeterred. And at last, Babaji Maharaj gives his consent, and when Saraswati Thakur got the inspiration for the missionary preaching of Sri Gaudiya Math, of which we should remember, all modern legitimate Gaudiya missions have Sri Gaudiya Math as its parent, grandparent, or origin, whether it's the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math. The origin is Sri Gaudiya Math of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he got this inspiration in Mayapur. Up before that, we're told he was chanting 3 lakhs of Krishna Nam every day. That's around 192, 196 rounds. I forget exactly how many. Right. And absorbed internally. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur asked him to accept the seva of the deities in Mayapur. Saraswati Thakur was reluctant. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, chided him, but lightly, saying like, oh, you've become a nirvisheshvadi. I mean, like God has no form. The form of God is too much trouble for you. What I like about this is it shows how these divine personalities deal with one another. Right? So, and there can be reluctance on someone's part to accept a particular position or seva, and then the sweet goading of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Saraswati Thakur is realizing he's going to have to descend to the Madhyamadikari plane to begin preaching. As Srila Guru Maharaj said, the Mahabhagavata, everything's perfectly adjusted in their vision. So in that sense, preaching means to convert non-Krishna into Krishna. When you're seeing Krishna in everyone and everything's perfectly adjusted, what is the necessity? So we're told the Mahabhagavata descends to the Madhyam position to distinguish, this is favorable, this is good, to preach, to convert misconception and the proper conception. Right? Non-Krishna into Krishna. Right? And Saraswati Thakur sometimes Guru Maharaj would say that initially he conceived of like a kirtan hall. There'll be kirtan and Bhagavat Shravan. Right? Then we're told the page from Chaitanya Charitamritam came, where Mahaprabhu is telling perhaps the Sanatana Goswami about the 64 angas, limbs of devotional service. And then it says, and these 5 are the most important. Sadhu Sangha, Nam Sankirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, Mathurabhas, Murti, Shraddhaya Sevan. Right? So then he realizes this will be the platform through which Gaudiya Math extends Krishna conception, Mahaprabhu's Krishna conception. So you see that represented in the logo of Sri Gaudiya Math. But we're told that when he's realizing that he'll have to, in Guru Maharaj's word, leave the jungle of Mayapur, at that time it's not developed, and go to Kolkata for preaching, that Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj is saying, like, Prabhu, don't leave the Dham. He said, Kolkata, that's Kali's stan. That's the land of Kali, all of it. That's hell, the center of hell. Don't go, stay here in the Dham. And Saraswati Thakur says that, he said, oh, you don't know, I have so much faith in the purifying power of the dust of your holy lotus feet. I can liberate thousands of Kolkatas. So, and if that is the center of hell, what better place to establish Guru, Gauranga, and Radha Govinda? Then that's where I want to make a temple, in that very place. And at the time of the passing of Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj, when there was some dispute over who would take possession of his divine form, Saraswati Thakur and then some locals, the police were called in. And the police needed to be informed what the situation is. So Saraswati Thakur is referring to, Paramahansa Thakur, Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj, and the police say, they're Bengali police, and they say, we have heard of Ramakrishna Paramahansa. There is another Paramahansa? And Saraswati Thakur says, this Paramahansa, the dust from his holy lotus feet, can liberate thousands of Ramakrishnas. Oh. And I found it prescient and interesting that one mundane scholar did research on these so-called Paramahansas and saints in Bengal. Whoops. And in her research, she found that for every one of them, they have people who follow them and believe in them, and they have detractors. Some people think they're just totally bogus and fraud and deceiving people. For each one, and she explains. Then she says, but there's this one Paramahansa who has no detractors, that everyone concedes is genuine, the real thing, and that is Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj. Right? And this is not by a follower or someone in our line, but someone doing so-called independent scholarly research. So, Srila Saraswati Thakur had that kind of faith and more in Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj. When he sent one of his disciples to the West for preaching, and in the words of Srila Guru Maharaj, that man came back half converted. Right? This is a famous reception at the dock in Bombay when the ship comes in, and Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada is there, Guru Maharaj is there to receive him, and they see he left in the dress of a sannyasi and now not, and he seems to be under the influence of European ideas, and he tells them, they ask questions that cannot be answered. So Prabhupada Swami Maharaj says, what are those questions? And one by one, Srila Guru Maharaj answers them, the questions that cannot be answered. And Prabhupada says, today Europe has been defeated by Asia. But still, so that person, then they have to bring him to Srila Saraswati Thakur, who, seeing that his own man has come back half converted, damaged, and he says, that man says to Saraswati Thakur, like, what you have is not sufficient for them. And Saraswati Thakur is somewhat dumbstruck, momentarily, at such audacity. Guru Maharaj says that Professor Sanyal, he wanted to strangle that man. And began to chastise him, saying, you have forgotten the first principle of spiritual life, given by Rupa Goswami, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Guru, Padasraya, taking shelter of the lotus feet of Guru. Right? Then Saraswati Thakur is recovered and he says, my spiritual master, my Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj, he said, could not write his name. He said, but I found all spiritual knowledge within a toenail of his holy lotus feet. That was his vision, right? And also expressed by Guru Maharaj in this pranam, Namo Gaura Kishoraya Bhaktavaduta Murtaye Gaurangri Padma Bringaya Radha Bhavani Shevane Bhaktavaduta Murtaye. Using this word avadut, meaning he can deal with impure things but remain unaffected. So, as an example, we're told when he would visit Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there was some place nearby that was formerly an outhouse, latrine. Right? And he would stay in that place. And some people would come to him, and being aware of that, they would say, like, Babaji Maharaj, how can you tolerate the stench of this place? And he said, that is external. He said, you're coming from Calcutta, how can you tolerate the stench of the mentality of the people with whom you associate? And that seems to be more objectionable to me. This is an external thing. And Prabhupada said, sometimes he said, Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj was a very humorous fellow. So some men, they come and they're mesmerized by him and wanting blessing. Babaji Maharaj, if you can give your blessings to us. He goes, all right, yeah, you want my blessings? Yeah, please, we want your blessings. That is our only aspiration. He said, then you just stay here with me chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and don't go back to your home, your family, all that. Just stay here with me. And Prabhupada said, that man fled away. Then he said, Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj is a very humorous fellow. So they're praying for the mercy. Oh, there's my mercy, stay with me, take the holy name of Krishna. Right. His unique way of seeing things, that because as an avadut, he appears to people to be like a madman. Sometimes children are coming, throwing things at him, calling him names. Right? And Srila Guru Maharaj said, Babaji Maharaj, would the plane that he's located in, how does he interpret this? He's saying, Krishna, I know that it's you. You're, through these children, calling these names, throwing these things at me. That's how he saw it. No ego towards those children, but that he's saying, Krishna, you're behind this. You're using them to do this. He said, but I also know how to deal with you. So I will complain to Yashoda Mai, and then she will take care of you. So Guru Maharaj would say, what plane was he situated in that he's seeing things that way? Right? Sometimes expressing ecstatic emotions, others observing or becoming aware of that, wanting to imitate him. We're told there was a man who carefully observed Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj and his activities, and then he made a hut, entered that hut, then he's doing similar things. And then maybe sometimes people are hearing that, man, some crying is coming from that hut, and you know. And they bring it to the attention of Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj, and he says, if a woman enters a labor room, meaning like where you give birth to a baby, and she starts moaning and groaning and contorting her body in different ways, he said, does she produce a baby? Just by imitating those activities. And as Srila Guru Maharaj said, no, there must have been certain activities before that moment for that to come. So, still his renown, his fame among many people, like we hear from Srinivas Acharya, Dira Dira Janapriyo Priyakaro Nirmatsaro Pujito. Some people, they're thinking, who do Bhagavad recitation for a living, that, you know, they have a book like all the different people that they've read for to convince people to sign up for their program, hire them. Sometimes called Bhagavad Saptaha, 7 days reading. This used to really rile Srila Prabhupada. He would say, it says, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Not 7 days. Always should be hearing. But anyway, one so-called Goswami, he wants to read before Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj. He's deferring, delaying, deterring. Somehow it came to pass. Babaji Maharaj had to suffer through that. And at the conclusion, he tells those in attendance, he says, get some cow dung and cow urine and cleanse this place. And everyone is bewildered. As something impure. They're thinking, isn't it said that when the Bhagavatam is recited, the benefit is there for the speaker, the hearer, the inquirer, the place in which the recitation, all supremely purifying. Right? Gopi tava katamritam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kalmashapaham shravanamangalam srimadattatam bhuvi grananti te bhuri daljana. Right? And Babaji Maharaj was like, you heard Bhagavatam. All I heard was money, money, money. Get some cow dung and cow urine and cleanse this place. Right? Now, we could say, but they did in fact speak the verses, the slokas. It sounds like Bhagavad Gita. Right? But we're told, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhakti rutama. What matters is the motive, ulterior motive. What is the target? To please Krishna? Or is there some other purpose? Ado arpita paschad kriyeta. Sridhar Swami, the great Bhagavatam commentator on the Navabhakti section of Prahlad, saying, at the basis of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, it has to be as an offering for Krishna, not your own perceived benefit for doing so. Guru Maharaj said he was surprised when he came to Gaudiya Math hearing from Professor Sanyal that if I go to read Bhagavatam under the order of the Vaishnava, it may be devotion. But if I do it on my own, it's karma kanda, or maybe just karma, or even vikarma. Right? So what is it? It should be unmotivated. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tatparatena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchate. Right? If there's some underlying motive, then it's contaminated. To what degree? Same thing, Sanatan Goswami Prabhu, Avaishnava Mukhodgirnam Putam Harikatam Ritam. Saying, Harikatha is Amritam. Hearing about Krishna is that nectarine, life-giving, life-saving substance. He said, but if someone is not a proper Vaishnava, a Vaishnava Mukhodgirnam Putam Harikatam, Shravanam Naivam Kartavyam. Don't hear from them. Sarpo chistam yatapayo. That it's like milk that's been poisoned by a serpent. Right? I was surprised to see online, it was in Nepal or somewhere, a woman, a snake had attached to a cow's milk bag, poisoned the milk, she milked the cow, fed her baby. And I went, oh, it's just like that example. Because that's something not in our, we were thinking, milk touched by the lips of the serpent, what does that mean to us? But then I saw this example. Right? So saying, yes, this is that nectarine, life-giving substance. If it is infused, poisoned with some ulterior motive, then it has the opposite effect. So, also we hear that Babaji Maharaj, he would hear there, Bhaktivinoda Thakur Guru said had, I don't know, 5, 7 disciples, something like that. And it was brought to his attention that one of the Grihastha disciples of Bhaktivinoda, or one of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's disciples was going to get married. And he gave some very peculiar advice. He said, you should dress your wife like a gopi, see her as a gopi, treat her as a gopi, and that will, how do you say, that will prevent any exploiting tendency to awaken in you. So, that Gaura Kishor Das Babaji Maharaj is the Gurudev of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So he has this one disciple, and his one disciple found Sri Gaudiya Math and gives the order to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada spreads Krishna consciousness all over the world. Srila Guru Maharaj reveals to us what is that the gift that has been given to us, the full extent of the gift that Prabhupada distributed all over the world. Then Srila Guru Maharaj, he's revealing the depth of that treasure. So it's also the appearance day, yesterday was, of Bhakti Dvaita, Srila Bhakti Dvaita Madhav Maharaj, who I mentioned. I had the good fortune to meet on my way to Jagannath Puri. We've heard about, he was High Grieve Brahmachari in the Gaudiya Math days, whom Srila Saraswati Thakur described as a man of volcanic energy. And he very much had much love and affection for Srila Guru Maharaj, would come and stay at the Mat like a month, a year to get Guru Maharaj's association. He would say things to Guru Maharaj like, "You're cheating the public, the devotional public," because Guru Maharaj, he's recognizing the unparalleled wealth in Guru Maharaj, but Guru Maharaj is staying in Navadvip and not going out. That's what he meant by "you're cheating the devotion. People should be hearing from you." And he said, Madhava Maharaj also said about him, he said, "You would not make a good king, but you'd make a great advisor to a king." And when Guru Maharaj would visit Madhava Maharaj's mat, when they would say, in the Gaudiya Mat, only like the guru and the secretary, the leading devotees, could read the newspaper. Think about that. And when Guru Maharaj visited, they had to buy a second newspaper. And one disciple of Madhav Maharaj complained. He's saying, like, one paper should be enough. Why do we have to get another one when Sridhar Maharaj is visiting, you know? And Madhava Maharaj, it's just a kind of faith he had in Guru Maharaj. He said, "No, you don't understand." He said, whether Srila Sridhar Maharaj reads the newspaper or the Vedas, it is the same. He's extracting divine substance. And that same person, he once said, "Why are you always so much praising Govinda Maharaj?" You know? And Madhava Maharaj said, when you see that type of Guru Bhakti, devotion to Guru, if you don't praise that, some fault will come to you. So we can understand a little bit about the glories of Srila Madhava Maharaj, who was, after that man came back from the West, half converted, next Madhava Maharaj, Saraswati Thakur was considering sending, but he was very handsome, and someone said to Saraswati Thakur, "The ladies of England are like apsaras, and they'll be too much attracted to him. Don't send such a handsome-looking man." So, and then Guru Maharaj was considered, but Guru Maharaj said, "I can't follow their intonation, and also I am, what's the word? Not so sociable." He said, "If you insist, I'll go, but you must have some target, goal in mind." So Guru Maharaj was told, they ended up selecting Srila Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj. But they came to Guru Maharaj and said, you know why Prabhupada wanted you to go? And Guru Maharaj, first of all, they said, don't you want the renown for like having taken this to the West? And Guru Maharaj said, no, I have no such interest. He said, my only interest is becoming the servant of a servant of Mahaprabhu. Right. And he said, well, you know why Prabhupada wanted you to go? Saraswati Thakur. Why? He said, because he can't be converted. The other person came back half converted. He said, Sridhar Maharaj, he cannot be converted. And when that was told to Guru Maharaj said, that is true. So Madhava Maharaj's going was cancelled, but I did get the chance to see him, and I can see vivid at the Howrah train station, such this beautiful Gaudiya Mat sannyasi, perfect in every way and looking so beautiful, handsome, charming, and going. And he saw me, and we're getting ready to board the train, and I, at Howrah, gave Shastanga Dandavats, which he appreciated. And he asked me very kindly, oh, where I'm, you know, what is that train called? Oh, Jagannath Express. So, and I went in my third class unreserved, against all good advice, against what all the senior well-wishing devotees told me never do. I was doing that very thing. And he was on his way to another part of the train. And after arriving there, I've mentioned this before, but without any guidance from the higher Vaishnava, I was just getting in trouble. And allowing Maya to make, how do you say, bad suggestions in my mind. Like, well, we're not allowed into the temple, the Jagannath temple, but there's so many other temples outside. So it's okay to like go through the gate and visit one of the other temples, just not go to the Jagannath temple. Which I soon found out was not, I go through one of the east, west, the southern gate, and immediately the barefoot policemen come, and they don't just say like, oh, you're not allowed, not like that. They just immediately come up to me like and pick me up and take me outside and throw me in a gutter. And for those who've been, an Indian gutter. And so now I'm covered in gunk and realizing I've done something very offensive and very foolish, and that I need to reconsider things carefully. And in that condition, I'm on a rickshaw going back to where I'm, and there comes Madhava Maharaj on another rickshaw, and he can see that I'm not doing well. It's obvious. And then I believe it was actually the Purushottam Gaudiya Mat, Chatak Parbat. We go into a Tulsi garden there, and I start whining, basically, about not being allowed to enter. And very sweetly, very mercifully, very gently, he says to me, he says like, you know, Haridas Thakur was not allowed. And I was like, oh. And he says, you know, Rupa Goswami was not allowed. And then I'm like, oh. And he says, Sanatan Goswami Prabhu. And I'm like, now I'm so ashamed, but it was exactly what I needed to hear. As Guru Maharaj will say, Mahaprabhu, he never crossed their customs there. Neither did Rup, Sanatan, Haridas. Right? We know Sanatan Goswami went so far out of his way to avoid contact with pandas. Right? So, but then he told me to like raise me back up. He said, but Mahaprabhu gave the place of the Siddha Bokul to Haridas Thakur and Rup and Sanatan. So that'll be your first visit on the parikrama, on the Dham parikrama. And I had a little book and we went each place. He told me exactly the sequence, where to go, even how much to pay the rickshaws. They were astonished that I knew the exact price. I gave them a little extra. But so he told me all the different, and then everything changed once I came under the shelter of the higher Vaishnava. Then it became this wonderful, beautiful, enriching experience. So, and we didn't have the opportunity, we missed the opportunity to say something about Gadadhar Das, Dhananjaya Pandit, Srinivas Acharya, and like we always hear heart and halo, Radha Bhava Duty Subalita, the Bhav and Kanti of Srimati Radharani, Bhav meaning heart, personified in Gadadhar Pandit, but the Kanti or halo, Gadadhar Das. And what we hear of Gadadhar Das is that he once went to the local Muslim in charge, and like such a pure, simple heart, sweet-hearted devotee said, I am asking if you to take Krishna Nam. That's my request. You will take Krishna Nam. And that Muslim, he's saying, why should I take Krishna Nam? I'm a Muslim. It's Vaishnava. You take Krishna Nam and others. But we don't take Krishna Nam, so asking me to take Krishna Nam. And Gadadhar is saying, oh, already you've taken. And that was one of the hallmarks of the beginning of ISKCON movement, with devotees always asking people to take, can you say Hare Krishna? And we were surprised how many people would respond favorably. And in the case of Dhananjaya Pandit, Guru Maharaj tells us that when Mahaprabhu, remember, after he gets his release from Advaita Acharya, the mystic poem of Advaita Acharya, now he is his public service is concluded, Bahiranga Sangha Kore Nama Sankirtan, Prem Nam Sankirtan, and Antaranga Sangha Kore Rasa Ashvadan. Now, in the company of Swarup and Ramananda, behind closed doors in the Gangbir, he'll be plunging the depths of Radha Bhav for the last 12 years of his manifest pastimes. So at that time he sends Nityananda Prabhu to Bengal to preach. And we're told Dhananjaya Pandit is one of the Dwadasha Gopals of Nityananda Prabhu, the 12 cowherd boys, intimate associates of Nityananda, who descend, of Balaram, who descend in Gaur Leela. Right? So he's assisting Nityananda Prabhu in this propagation. And of course, Srinivas Acharya, whose father was Padmanabha, who witnessed the sannyas of Nimai Pandit. And Guru Maharaj in his Premadama Stotram has that verse, what is it? Lochanasru Karta, I forget exactly right now, but he's saying tears fell from the eyes of millions as the time came to cut the beautiful curling hair of Nimai Pandit. And when the time came for his name, Keshava Bharati said that, as if he heard a voice in the sky say, Krishna Chaitanya, because you are Krishna consciousness personified and you've come to distribute Krishna consciousness, your name must be Krishna Chaitanya. And Srinivas Acharya's father, Padmanabha, just kept going, Chaitanya. When he heard it, it sounded so beautiful to him, Chaitanya. He just kept reciting, Chaitanya, Chaitanya. Returned to his village and people would say, what happened in Katwa? We heard Nimai Pandit took sannyas. And he'd say, Chaitanya, Chaitanya. And he became known as Chaitanya Das. But after the departure of Mahaprabhu, we're told the boy, 15-year-old boy at the time, Srinivas Acharya, his mad in separation, discovered by Janavadevi. He's a very beautiful boy, and we're told, and reminiscent of Nimai Pandit in his features. And she takes him to the house, feeds him, and he later, in Vrindavan, makes his connection with the Goswamis. And they've been immortalized in his song, the Sad Goswami Astakam. Right? And it's there that he receives Shyamananda Prabhu, Narottam Thakur, they're entrusted with all the Goswami's literature. Right? And they're on bullock carts, and somehow in the dead of night they're stolen. And this is, we can just imagine, if you put yourself in that situation, all the works of the Goswamis have been entrusted to you, and you lost them. In your care, now they're gone. Narottam and Shyamananda continue on, but we're told Srinivas, he's just half mad or more for a year, searching, trying to find them. And we're talking about Bhagavad recitation. We're told this local tribal king of the Aborigines, Birambir, he liked to hear Bhagavatam and would have Bhagavat Katha every day in the afternoon. And Srinivas Acharya starts in his half-mad condition attending that. And one day, the head speaker in the assembly, Vyas, he's like the guru of Birambir, he says something that's incorrect. And Srinivas Acharya is sort of just speaking out loud the correction. And everyone's like, what? What are you saying? And they bring him forward, and he's giving the proper explanation. And then he explains his situation. He said, I could explain so much more. And he explains the situation of losing all the books. Then the king admits that, oh, I think we have a solution here. He's saying, I have an astrologer, and he told me at one point that the most inconceivably valuable treasure, a casket full of invaluable gems had entered my kingdom. And we stole that, and we found these books that we can't properly understand. So then, of course, they're recovered. Srinivas Acharya explains them all. And it was the wish of Mahaprabhu that Srinivas Acharya would learn Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. Right? So on the order of Mahaprabhu, he goes to Puri to meet with Gadadhar Pandit, who says, I've been waiting for you. Right? He said, and remember, Gadadhar Pandit would give Bhagavat explanation, Bhagavat class to Mahaprabhu and others in Puri. And if we think about that, like Guru Maharaj says, Yadamiyam Mahima Sri Bhagavatam Kathayam Pratipadam Anubhutam Apya Labdavideya Tadakila Rasam Ritamurti Shamalila Avalambam Madhur Rasadi Sri Radha Pada Padmam Prapadye. That although ostensibly her name is not mentioned there, every page, every sloka, every step of the way is meant to take us in one direction, the service of the holy lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. So what sort of Bhagavat explanation can she give? Very unique, unparalleled. Gadadhar Pandit is explaining the Bhagavatam. So, but Gadadhar Pandit is saying, but my tears have washed away the slokas. So if you will go to Sri Khanda, that's where they could make a new Bhagavatam. You go there, mention my name. Imagine you go to Sri Khanda saying, Gadadhar Pandit wants another Bhagavatam. They're writing by hand, they make them. Then you bring that back to me and I'll explain to you, because it's the will of Mahaprabhu. This takes time. By the time Srinivas Acharya returns, he hears that Gadadhar Pandit has left the world. Guru Maharaj will mention that, but because it is the will of Mahaprabhu that ultimately everything is revealed in the heart of Srinivas Acharya. But that pathetic situation was in response to Gadadhar Pandit saying, my tears have washed away the letters. And Srila Guru Maharaj composed when his Gadadhar Pranam, when like Bhaktivinoda Thakur has the Bhagavad Arka Marichi Mala, 1,000 rays of the 18,000 rayed Bhagavat Sun. Guru Maharaj had a mind to collect 200 or 300 slokas. Right? And he was unable to do that, but he did compose the introductory slokas. One for Vyas, and this one for Gadadhar Pandit, which I believe gives some hint as to the quality of selection. There's Nilam Bodhi Tate Sada Saviraha Kepam Vitam Bandhavam Srimad Bhagavati Katha Madhiraya Sanjeevayan Bhatya Srimad Bhagavatam Bhagavatam Kathayan Ashru Bhagavatam Payanai Ashru Goswami Prabhuro Gadadhara Vibhur Bhuyat Madeka Kati Katayanashu Pujayam. Yeah. Says that on the broad blue ocean, on the shore of the broad blue ocean, Nilachala, Jagannath Puri, that there Krishna, as Mahaprabhu, he's feeling separation from himself, Sva-viraha. Right? It's Krishna Viraha, but Krishna in the Radha Bhava Duty, enveloped in the heart of Srimati Radharani, feeling separation from himself, the sort of separation that she alone feels. Sri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho Vaneva. Right? Srimad Bhagavati Katha Payanai Sanjeevayan Bhattiya. And that the separation is so great, saying, like when a friend is feeling heartbroken and separation from their beloved, another friend may come and supply some intoxicant to them, Madiraya, right, to assuage the grief of the separation they're experiencing in their heart. Right? The 10th stage of separation is death. He's in a death-like state of separation, on the verge of death, Sanjeevayan Bhattiya. But Gadadhar Pandit is taking Bhagavat slokas and supplying them like intoxicants, right, to bring him back to life, revive him from the depths of this sort of separation. It's inconceivable. So Krishna, right, who's terra incognito, enveloped in the heart of Srimati Radharani, experienced the depths of the sort of separation that she feels from Krishna, is in a death-like state, trance. And what is Gadadhar Pandit doing? Taking slokas from the Bhagavatam and supplying them like intoxicants to bring him back to life and bring some relief to the pain, the suffering in the heart. Right? So Srimad Bhagavati Katha Payanai Pujayam, Srimad Bhagavatam Katayanasu Payan, that's what it says. And while Gadadhar Pandit is doing this, the tears are flowing from the lotus eyes of Gadadhar Pandit onto the pages of the Bhagavatam, washing away those very slokas. As he tells Srinivas Acharya, what I would like to teach you has been washed from the pages of the Bhagavatam by my tears. As if to think, like we cannot know what they are at present. Not ever, at present. Right? So Guru Maharaj concludes, Goswami Prabharo Gadadhara Vibhur Bhuyat Madeka Gati. Let that Gadadhar Pandit be the only object in this attempt of mine. Right? So he's giving some hint there as to the criterion for the selection. Still, look at the determination, the perseverance of Srinivas Acharya. So he makes his way toward Vrindavan, saying, Rup and Sanatan are there, I'll go there. By the time he reaches Mathura, he hasn't heard news for so many weeks, they say, don't you know, Sanatan Goswami Prabhu just left the world. Again, he's crestfallen, heartbroken. By the time he gets to Vrindavan, they say, oh, haven't you heard? Rupa Goswami's left the world. Because Sanatan Goswami leaves on the Purnima, and then the next Dwadashi, Rupa Goswami. This is too much for him. Gadadhar Pandit, Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami, his heart cannot bear it. He collapses, faints, and when he awakens, he's in the ashram of Jiva Goswami, who he's meant to hear the Bhagavatam from. And everything that Mahaprabhu, Gadadhar Pandit, Sanatana wanted him to receive is fully received by Srinivas Acharya. Right? So as he writes, Nana Shastra Vicharanai Kunipano Shaddharma Sangstapako Lokanam Hitakarano Tribhuvane Manyo Saranakaro. Wasn't it? Next line. Gopi Bhavara Samrita Dilahari Kalola Magno Muhur Bande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako. Hare Krishna. Hari Haraya Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hari Haraya Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Gadadhara Sri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Echai Gochai Kori Charana Bandhan. Jaha Hoite Vignanas Abhista Puran. Echai Gochai Jarmui Tarodas. Kansabada Padarenu Mora Panchagran. Kandara Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanevas. Janame Janame More Abhilas. Echai Gochai Jabe Brajai Koilovas. Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korilo Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Sri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman. Sri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas. Harinam Sankirtan Koe Narottamadan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaura Hari Bo. Jai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaura Hari Bo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Acharya Sutara Sutta Sri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Jai Savarikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Ji ki jai. Jai Savarikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Radha Govinda Sundar Ji ki jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Govinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Dham ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Shri Gupta Govardhan ki jai. Ganga Devi Jamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tosi Devi ki jai. Om Vishnupad Vishva Varena Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Vrinda ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Bimala Avadut Maharaj ki jai. Sannyasi Vrinda ki jai. Seva Vrinda ki jai. Sri Bhakti Lalita Devi Dasi ki jai. Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Go Premanande.